supplement some of that time. Yeah.
I used to volunteer at the rescue mission and I would get phone calls like, my granddaughter's been living with me. I can't do this any longer. I gotta find someplace for her. I mean, all kinds of different scenarios. And there's not always one place to send them to get the right help.
Yeah, it's a ton of resource navigation that has to happen. Like there's never like one size fits all.
No, there isn't.
Place to go. And so and not to take away from.
Oh, no, that's why you're here.
But yeah, a lot of what we do is that resource navigation, like sitting down and like talking to each other about like, okay, I knew of a resource that's over here that could work for this person. I know about a resource that could work for this person, and not just finding one, but also like gaining all the resources that we can and offering them to that person so that they still have a choice in the matter and so that they have that autonomy as well is huge. But you're right, like there's a ton of different scenarios and there's never a one set place.
One answer.
Yeah, absolutely. So I agree with that.
With that said, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, so thank you for inviting us to come and talk about Love and Respect today. Love and Respect Community for Recovery and Wellness is a RCO, so a recovery community organization. All of our services are geared towards substance misuse, mental health, and then also just marginalized populations in general. So that includes the unhoused population. Our primary program, or I guess just like the heart of our organization, is our peer living room. It's a drop-in center off of Chadwick Avenue. You guys know the big yellow building on Chadwick? So we're on the back side of that. If you ever drive by, take a look because our van is out there and it's very colorful. But it's very exciting. But yeah, so folks can come in 9 to 5 Monday through Friday and can just immediately start receiving services, no appointment necessary, which that alone eliminates a barrier for our unhoused individuals who might not have access to a clock, who might not have access to steady transportation. And when they walk in, they tell us what they need. We don't start telling them what we think they need. And so it's one of those situations where they tell us what we want. We start resource navigating. If it's not something we can do, we outsource and send referrals to well-established community partners. So some of the services that we provide at our drop-in center are connected data treatment. We do, gosh, I would say up to 5 transports to treatment a week at this point. So they're getting folks in long-term recovery services. We don't just stop there either. So we follow up with them during treatment. We work with whoever is the coordinator for their aftercare and we find them placement after treatment. We do navigation for food, clothing, housing, phones, like down to just the most random things. And it's because we ask them what they want and then we build programming surrounding that. It's also important to note everybody at Love and Respect is in recovery themselves. So from admin to executive director, we're all on a long-term pathway of recovery from either mental health, substance misuse, or both. And so that's kind of one of the things that connects us to our participants, and it's easier for us to build rapport with our participants than maybe in a more clinical organization. So there's our drop-in center, and then we also have our street outreach unit, and I'll let Marco tell you about it in just a second. We have our reentry program. So we have a peer support specialist that is ingrained in the Transylvania County Detention Center, and then we do follow-up care for folks that are leaving Henderson County Detention Center. We have our respite program, which we haven't even opened. It's a brand new baby program, but it kind of exists to fill in some of the gaps in the treatment and housing world. So for example, if we have an individual that is currently incarcerated, it's the 26th, his insurance doesn't hit until the 1st, but he's getting out. He has served his sentence. Then he's just going right back out after sustaining recovery time for 30 days, 60 days before he goes to treatment. So this would be a good place for him to go in interim before he can go to treatment. All of our programming is not like one set thing. With respite, we just ask that they're in a transition to wellness. So that could be from houselessness to long-term housing. That could be from incarceration to treatment. That could be from mom's house to permanent housing. And so we just accommodate kind of based on whether or not they're in a transition to wellness. We also have a workforce readiness program, so we're helping individuals that are in substance misuse or mental health recovery find gainful and meaningful employment. Can be really tricky, believe it or not, to find a job when you have an extensive criminal background and gaps in your resume. Maybe you wouldn't believe it, but it is. And so we coach them and help them with mock interviews and building a resume and explaining those things in a professional manner, as well as getting workforce readiness clothing, a phone for, job interview calls, things like that.
A bike so they can get to the interview.
We do bikes, we do bus passes, and then we also do transports as well on an as needed basis. Thank you. Yeah, that was all. There's so much to say. Yeah, and so kind of just whatever the participant needs, we partner with the other local nonprofits in town too. So Back on Track Ministries, Hope Coalition, the free clinics. And we just kind of understand that there's nothing, like, we can't do everything ourselves. And so partnership is everything to us. So yeah, I think I covered, so much. I'm gonna let Marco tell you about their program, which is our street outreach program.
Yeah, so with the street outreach program, we cater to Henderson County as well as Pennsylvania County. We go around in our big van, so if you ever come by, you'll see it out there. And within that van, we have like hygiene products, tents, sleeping bags, anything that somebody may need, that's unhoused. We set up in places that we partnership with, like we do
Shakedown Kava on 7th.
We do Love's Kitchen with
First Baptist.
First Baptist. And then we have Bread of Life in Pennsylvania County. So it's a big deal when we can partner up with someone and we can go out to a food pantry as well as be there to give our services to anybody that needs it. So.
And our street outreach unit is really like everything that we do in our drop-in center on wheels. And so like we're able to go directly to that person. Its primary focus is the more rural communities. So like we're out in Edneyville, we're out in Mills River, we're in Fletcher, areas like that, as well as like inner city kind of areas. But we really just wanted to eliminate any possible barriers for folks that are seeking recovery services. And then also through our street outreach unit, we do work with zoning and enforcement on that soft hand approach that Jennifer was talking about, where we get an email and it basically is, there is a campsite. If you guys could go out and give them, some support with getting out, so that law enforcement doesn't always have to get involved. And so we answer to all of those calls that we get, and typically the compassionate approach is appreciated. Typically we get them out faster. Typically we're met with gratitude and we're able to, safely relocate them and get them somewhere that's actually adequate for humans to live in. And so that's super rewarding as well. So yeah, just working with local law enforcement, working with zoning and enforcement, and bringing services to individuals who may not walk in our doors otherwise due to, whether it's transportation or anxiety or intimidation or whatever the case may be. It changes a lot when you're actually on the sidewalk, sitting on the ground with them, talking to them about what they need. It's just without parallel. So, yeah.
That's a good segue to kind of why this kind of came up in this committee, because Aaron here is with White Oak Taco, and he is our chair, and he kind of brought that. We have people who come into like some of the businesses, and so trying to talk with y'all on what are good ways for the businesses and what they can tell their employees on things to do. And if you have anything you want to add on that, Aaron?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks. That's pretty close to what I was hoping to look for and find with this meeting. I know that you guys are out there doing good work, so we're first, for a business or something like that, or especially near like the Mission on 7th Avenue and around some of these other places where there is a lot of activity.
Yeah.
It's more active now than it was a year ago.
Yes.
5 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have a point of contact, a direction. And we spoke with the police a couple years ago, and I think the big takeaway from that is that it's not a problem that's is, you know, we're gonna do a thing and then check it off the list and then say, okay, problem solved. We don't have to talk about homelessness anymore. It's gonna be this ongoing thing. So it's nice to have a community or a resource network and kind of direction. You know, I see it as like a sort of a channel, a river is flowing, it's widening now. And so as the flow increases and more come into contact with me or people that live here, you know, we all want to know what can I do more than just give the guy cash out of my pocket and say good luck and I think it's important for the city to have kind of a voice in the discussion. If there's no presence at all, then you know, then we have to write laws about when the city has to step in, and it's usually a point where it's too dangerous for anybody. So, you know, managing the problem before then seems like the strategy, and we're part of, you know, a small business is part of that. It's nice knowing the next direction after that. Like, what do I tell, you know, my staff what they can do when I'm not around or something like that. That's my goal.
Absolutely. So, and we have had calls from local businesses before. You know, for example, we had a call once, there was an individual that was like behind their building and they were like, man, he's just not doing anything wrong, but he's making people feel uncomfortable. And we were like, we're on our way. And typically we can make that happen. Typically we can make those accommodations when a business calls. And I also want to say it's typically someone we know very well and have been working with for a long time. And so when we go out, it's, you know, just a discussion and it makes things a lot easier, as well as makes it less punitive and more compassionate, so that we're actually reaching a point where it's not just incarceration and they'll be back when they get out. It's more so like, okay, let's get you to the drop-in center, let's do some resource navigation, let's try and meet the needs that are causing you to be outside of this business in the first place. And so, yeah, I want to encourage you all, and if you don't mind, grab a rap card and pass it down, but definitely keep that on hand and give us a call when you have issues like that.
How many of the businesses know about you? Because to me, it'd be much better for business to call you and intercede than calling the police.
Well, and that's what our goal is, right? So like we, with our respite, a big goal is to reduce the individuals going to the detention center for substance use and mental health related issues, reduce the amount of individuals checking into the emergency room just because they need someone, truly, they just need someone who will listen to them. Right? Because we see that every day as well. And so, yeah, that's kind of why we exist so that we can kind of be that median, because, you know, we're peer support specialists. We're certified through Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And like, we also know our place. There have been situations we can't, you know, escalate. Like law enforcement did need to step in, but I can count, I've been doing this for 3 years at Love and Respect, and I can count those times on one hand. It typically doesn't reach that point. And so, yeah, that's the goal. I don't know how many, we try and get the word out there. For most nonprofits, marketing is really difficult. All of our funding goes towards direct services and not enough towards marketing, which is, you know, we're actively working with that on our strategic plan to get the word out about us, but it's things
But
like.
to me, the city should be involved in that, getting that word.
Yeah, that's what we're, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why we invite them to things like this and.
Yeah.
Well, even this is pretty active for the city. You know, when it comes down to what can we actually do, if you're talking to the city council or anyone in government, it's like, what do we want to spend money on? And then there's not much appetite.
Yeah.
So what can we actually do? It usually comes down to what are people willing to volunteer and do, and these resources. You know, I think we should do both, obviously.
Sure.
Do both, but this I tend to find. I like active results. I like being active. I don't, you know, so I appreciate, like I said, this two-pronged approach. Like I said, it's probably the strong hand and soft hand approach.
Yep.
The strong hand writes legislation and calls the police, which isn't both are necessary.
Totally.
Obviously.
It's not a balance, it's just about a balance.
But I've been very, very surprised with what we can accomplish with volunteers and people that just are saying, okay, what else can we do?
And just give the information of where to send people to and have like the people here can then tell other people. Stacy with Mini Batch, she's on the call. She was, Ray had her hand raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to second all of that Aaron just said, we see it a lot. And we're seeing more activity. It's stressing our employees. They want to help. I want to help, and we're not sure what the best path for help, real help
Yeah.
is. So this is very helpful for us too. And I would even like to invite you to come over and talk to my staff, and maybe we can all get together, some of the businesses on 7th, and have direct conversation where it's, because I know every single one of my employees has a genuine heart and they want to do something. And if they also can hear and see all of this information, then that will reverberate out into other parts of the community too. So yeah, that volunteerism, it's here. We're ready to do what we can do to help.
That's awesome to hear. Thank you for that. Yeah, I kind of left out like a part of what we do, which I knew I would. I double checked like 3 times, but we also offer trainings to the community. So kind of what she was just talking about, coming and presenting. We're happy to come and tell your staff, tell anyone you think should know about our services, but also train you in basic verbal de-escalation so that you're not scared, right? Like I think that a lot of the times what unhoused people experience is like these kind of dehumanizing situations, but it's typically not with bad intention. It's not like someone is trying to make them feel less than human. It's because there's like a sense of unknown, some discomfort. Is this person intoxicated? Is this safe? How do I interact with someone who's yelling at the sky, right? Like that's typically the thought process. And so if you can have somebody come in who has lived experience with the things that you're intimidated by, and it's just an open book and willing to answer questions and willing to tell you what worked for them, then I think that kind of creates like a healthy dialogue and an ability to actually learn and become, able to do those things yourself. We also do training on naloxone administration. I'm happy to provide each and every
Training on what?
with naloxone administration. Happy to provide each and every one of you with several doses of naloxone to keep on hand at your organization. If you don't know, that's a overdose reversal medication. It's nasal, it's not intimidating, very easy to use, but it could save a life as well if these are things that you guys are experiencing, because that's a scary thing to be powerless of in those situations. So yeah, definitely like training, naloxone. If you just need to call and talk through like how should I deal with this situation, if you need to call and have one of us come out, we're happy to do any of those things. And if there's something that I haven't mentioned that would be helpful to you guys as a group, like all we do is build programming around what people tell us that they need. And so definitely throw it out there. We have a grant writing team. We usually can make things happen. And yeah, because we want to be here for you guys. We want you guys to feel supported by the nonprofits in the area. So yeah.
This is very enlightening. Because, yeah, I think the sensitivity here is to this issue, it's been around a long time, but this is the first time that I've heard about resources that, are as focused as what we're hearing about right now. The fact that a social worker has been added to the police force, I mean, that's like yeehaw, right? And all of the services that your group is providing on a daily basis are key and critical. But I have another question.
Okay. I'm ready for it.
And coming from the back room, I know very little about what's going on
Please.
in this subject, but what I'm hearing is you're focused primarily 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. providing services essentially for walk-ins, or if you get a call out and you go help. But it's a daytime service. You're not on call 24 hours a day unless you really want to go overboard. My question is, what do we have in place, if anything, the other 12 hours.
Yeah.
Okay, and because your housing support, I'm sure, is a one-off. So it's just individuals that you can find some mechanism to work to give them a place to stay. It's not as a, here comes the bus load, right? And they have no place to sleep tonight, and it's gonna be 20 degrees. So, are we anywhere in
Not like the
that?
people who can't get into the rescue.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. I mean, is there any program or plan or discussion about creating a, facility that provide a soup kitchen with housing, a big room for nighttime service? They don't have to put them up 24 hours a day. I'm getting too far down the rabbit hole. So, I mean, that's what I'm wondering. Because too many cities have avoided addressing that issue because of the cost.
Yeah.
And I think the experts know that it's cheaper to do that than nothing.
Yeah, I will say from the city perspective, not being a direct service provider, we are having those conversations. Like, we know that it's a need. We know that we're grateful for the mission, but the mission is very high barrier.
Yes.
It can be difficult to get people in to get the support that they.
The mission's not for homeless.
No,
That's a whole different.
yeah, they need to be able, you go.
Be in a program.
Sober, be in programs, so but my point with that is we understand that there's a gap that needs to be filled. And so those conversations, what that will end up looking like, I don't know. We're having conversations with faith leaders. The city manager and I actually traveled to Greenville, South Carolina a few weeks ago with Grace Lutheran Church. They have a very interesting housing nonprofit down there that we'll pick up some tips and tricks from, but it's gonna take partnership. The city can't do it by itself. We don't have the capital to do it, nor do we have the statutory authority to do a lot of the things that would need to be done. So it's gonna be a community effort, but we're not ignoring the need. And I think that is kind of the best starting point, is we're not ignoring the conversation.
When there's an emergency, isn't there like emergency shelter?
Was somebody right?
Like during,
Sorry, I just jumped in there.
I wanted to put my raised hand up there. I'd be recognized.
Emergency shelter, I only say like code purple if they're.
Right.
which is
Yeah.
through the
That's-
rescue mission.
Yeah, that's through the rescue mission. I think sometimes the county can trigger code purples, but it's through the mission that actually provides the roof.
And they do like lower.
It's like during the hurricane, like people, they put them at the mall and stuff. Okay.
Shelter, yeah,
Yeah.
so like during natural disasters, typically there's a larger scale kind of effort when more people are displaced. But with Code Purple specifically, it's typically left up to the rescue mission, who they do lift a lot of their restrictions. Not all of them, not enough. But they do
That's-
make efforts to bring more people in, yeah.
Well, for a variety of reasons, as you said, the population has gone up in
Yeah.
the last year or so,
Yeah.
not the least of which would be heat related. I mean,
Right.
and so a lot of people have lost housing due to that. And my question is, are you all, I know you're already aware of, because I think is Lexi the director?
Yeah,
Yes,
Lexi
I've met
is.
him a few
Okay.
times, a great guy. And are you all involved with the disaster recovery partnership?
Yes.
Because I'm on the unmet needs committee and we have funding.
Yeah.
And, I think some of the things that you need and are talking about might be things that we could help with. And so I just wanted to, make sure you all were aware of that. I haven't seen him lately, so.
Yeah.
uh,
So, and I was just, I'm a part of what I do is disaster case management to supplement, and I just put in a part of the report for the unmet needs committee as a DCM.
Oh,
So I interact with John Hughes.
Oh, yeah.
All the time, yeah, so super familiar.
Great.
And, yeah, we would love to talk more about what that would look like, but we're definitely aware about the existing disaster efforts. We kind of, we were so outside of our element when Helene hit, but we ultimately, we were the only place on the block that had power, and so we opened our doors and just let people come in, and ended up being a pretty large hub for disaster related things. People were just coming in. We acquired Starlinks, all the things, and did distribution for 10 months after Helene. So yeah, we're a part of the long-term recovery efforts. Would love to talk more about the Unmet Needs Fund and how we could partner, but they're amazing over there, and make sure to give us a seat at the table, which we're grateful for.
Yeah, good. And then do you all, and you don't have to go into great detail or anything, but
I don't know how not to.
do you,
Y'all haven't noticed.
do you complement and interact with Thrive, for example, and like?
Thrive is wonderful.
Oh, we love Audrey at Thrive. We just love Thrive in general. So yeah, we definitely do. They provide great services. We make calls to Thrive on a daily basis when we get new participants in. That's one of the first things that we do with resource navigation when we have an unhoused individual come in. So yeah, I tried to do
All right. And you may already, but so, and I'm sorry, I'm a few minutes late, so I don't know if we did introductions, but I work fiscal legal.
Okay.
I'm sure you probably steer folks.
Absolutely.
If you don't, you can.
What is your name?
I'm Daniel Carey. I'm not one of the attorneys.
Okay, yeah. We were working really closely with the unhoused, the social workers that were in Henderson County working with the unhoused community.
Yeah.
And that was such a godsend. Like, we loved working with them. And treat and driver's license restoration has been huge for us.
Yeah.
So we love everything Fiscal Legal does.
It did say they currently have 300,000 legal aid funding, correct?
Yeah, so we have a contract
Cool.
for the social workers.
Okay.
Yeah, we're funding that through the city.
Did any of y'all have anything to ask or say?
I have a question, kind of like on his remarks with there not being really any services at night.
Mhm.
You know, if they can't get into the rescue mission, does the city see an increase of criminal activity, cops having to be called out, things like that at night? And I asked because I own several businesses and I actually was hit by one of the homeless. They were destroying a porta potty. I think they were sleeping in it, but there was drug paraphernalia. So my contractor locked it. And the very next night it was set on fire, which it was up against a container full of a lot of expensive equipment, and the container caught on fire and we lost everything. But I was just curious if you see an increase in activity like that in the evening when they don't have a place to go.
Yes, I mean, we do, we also see a lot of officer initiated stops. So instead of being reactive, they're proactively kind of asking them if they need any help or, the police are. When you go through the data, you see quite a few self-initiated stops. So they are, and I think that if we really dug into the data, we'd see far more jail transfers during the PM hours, which is one of the reasons that we are working with Love and Respect to get those overnight
That's wonderful,
hours available, because we don't want that service to stop at business hours. People's needs don't stop at.
And I know that they're just seeking, like even in our case, they were trying to get in anywhere. To get out of the weather elements. But,
Yeah, and a lot of our code enforcement, especially post-Helene, because we had more vacant structures, we've seen an uptick in our community development department having to kind of handle those. So people are looking for shelter. And we don't have that mid-level where they can get in, and we don't have housing, right? We've got a massive lack of available housing. So, but yes, I mean, that's just kind of the nature of this situation right now that that's what kind of we're trying to change.
What kind of data do we have on homeless numbers in Hendersonville? Do we know like an approximate?
So the best that we have is a point in time count, which is done at the county level and in January. So the numbers are, I think it was just over 150. But I think that we see, and this is just my gut, but I think we see a lot of transient folk come from Asheville to Hendersonville and back, depending on resource availability. So it's kind of hard to put a thumb on, but I think it's just about 150 that are pretty constant.
The rescue mission puts anybody that they send on the bus down here back on the bus right away. Because they want to just have Henderson County. So they send them right on the bus back.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I'd like to expand it's on my wish list, right? Because we've got the Continuum of Care Region 2, which is really kind of nonprofit based, but we don't really have kind of a government regional coalition. And because of just the fact that Asheville does have more resources, but we may have different resources available, Brevard may have different resources available. So that's kind of a goal that we're looking at, is eventually establishing kind of a regional governmental task force, specifically around migration and also resource allocation.
Yeah.
And you brought up last year, like pit count and organizing it and we're
Yeah.
working to get pit count more organized so that we can get.
What's pit count?
Point in time,
Oh.
so that's done for it's the numbers that are sent to
Yeah,
the federal government.
Yeah, and then this year will be January 28th, and we're in a much better position this year than we were last year. We've got more outreach teams that are, in Buncombe County.
Is it literally like just a head count?
Literally.
Yeah.
Like a census, I mean.
And it's
Yeah.
like,
And
there's
that's like a
a,
national thing everywhere.
yeah,
Yeah, it's like all done in January, I think,
yeah, some places do
February,
it,
whatever,
yeah.
yeah.
But it's super impressive, and it's great when all the organizations can come together and take different sides of town and get an accurate number. I know that I saw that there was a projected 20% increase in houselessness in Saline. Which I totally could see working with disaster impacted individuals.
And I think your approach is excellent too, because in the sense of like trying to get to know these people, direct social contact with them. Like you said, sometimes I get repeat calls, but like it's usually somebody harmless. I definitely notice a difference between people that are locals and people that are just passing through.
Yeah.
And with 150 people, that's a knowable amount of people.
Yeah.
Like maybe 200 if you're being generous, like
Yeah.
you can contact them. If there was maybe one more organization like you, we could do it at night. And if there was one more, then that would be enough to like just say, hey, how you doing, to a significant number of these people that are out there that have needs.
Absolutely.
So for this committee and the things that we've talked about, like, do y'all have any thoughts on like, I think them talking to some of the individual businesses, like what we talked about before, seems like a good step. And so I just kind of wanted to have that as kind of a ending part of the conversation of if there's any kind of thoughts from y'all on like, from our side on the downtown business side of things, if there's any thoughts on that.
Like Stacy, go ahead.
I think we need to do a little more to get the word about them out.
Yeah.
Like Stacy was saying, like, she owns a business right next to mine and the staff always, there's something about just working class that makes you just want to give off the shirt from your back. If anybody has a need, like when you get a little bit of something, they all just want to share it. And so, but they all have a desire to do something about the problem, but nobody knows like what they could do. So just having hey, call those people is great. So for me, the next thing would be like, what do we do after that? And with, this room of business owners and problem solvers and kind of people to ask that question to, like, what can we do? I've been impressed with the amount of work that a volunteer can do. And I think I saw something recently in, I think it was Baltimore, where they're doing the social work thing with the police, but it's just a group of volunteers. And they work all around the clock, but it's just people in a similar situation in what you're doing. And yeah, like I think there's a way to bridge that communication network of people that are actually doing the work, the people that have the need and the people that see the need and can kind of get there in that space. So yeah, sharing it as a start.
Seems like a start too with the training that they were talking about on how to de-escalate.
When's that training rolling out?
We have that training available anytime.
For the, you're talking about for the
Oh,
full,
so we're doing, this is like for PD, fire, code enforcement.
Mm.
So we're doing the 1 day kind of broad overview. That's gonna be March, April. And then we're gonna do the 3 day training. We're shooting for July.
And that's all internal.
That's gonna be internal and then some community partners.
Maybe we think about for us having, even if we have like a, maybe even with the chamber, or something,
Mhm.
having like when they do classes, like they do with the small business center and all that kind of stuff, it's kind of similar to a small business class, but they're talking about the like de-escalation and how to
Mhm.
folks.
That's fine.
Would you just say another word or two about that training, like how long it takes?
Yeah.
What people kind of, I know what they come out with, they got some skills and tools and so on, but like, what's the time?
The verbal de-escalation training, it usually takes about 30 minutes. If it's me, it's gonna take an hour. That's literally, we've timed it. So send me out, so that's just 30 minutes.
Okay,
And we give out work pages and additional information that you can take with you. And then we also, any training we do for any organization, we bring naloxone along with us as well.
oh, you're mobile in that training or do we go to you all? I mean.
We can come to you,
Okay.
you can come to us, just whatever is comfortable for the community partner. We really are always eager to do training, so we're happy to accommodate in any way. And I think that it's important stuff, but in our verbal de-escalation training, we go over non-aggressive body language, what to look for, in an individual to see if they're safe to approach, kind of non-aggressive, de-escalation language that you can use. Cause most of the time when we're asking somebody to leave, that's not like a pleasant interaction.
Yeah.
And it's not gonna get a pleasant reaction. And so it's almost immediately, time for verbal de-escalation. And so just keeping those things in mind. And you know what, there are some times where verbal de-escalation doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like that individual is not willing to be a part of that, and that's okay too. But most often they are.
That's good. And our folks that are even more frontline may already be aware of it and they may have had some kind of training, but we confront that on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
I mean, and
I can only imagine.
yeah, and it's not just Asheville, but in our office. And so I'll just inquire, whether some of those guys have had it or whether they might want to try this. That'd be really great.
Yeah, I encourage all of you, check it out with your team. You can email the email address that's on the pamphlet and it'll likely get forwarded over to me. But we would be happy to do, and if there's a training that you feel like would be more helpful that you don't see on our website or I haven't talked about today, we have folks that are strictly dedicated to developing curriculum for stuff like this. So please reach out.
I see that as even being the way of like some of the businesses, restaurants and stuff to like have their introduction of who they are, even more than anything. So that, because that's how they'll remember, like, because it's always easy to remember, like, oh, I just call 911.
Yeah.
And then it's just easy to remember on that. But if they have that kind of face-to-face interaction, that might help them to remember.
And you're on.
Just getting all this information out to the other businesses
Yeah.
is a starting point.
Yeah, we can
You
get.
said you're based out of Chapel Hill?
No, our
Organization.
credentials come from
Oh, okay.
Chapel Hill. We're based here locally. We serve multiple counties, but our home base is here.
Interesting. If I have my entrepreneur hat on, the next question that I'd ask is how can we grow your operation? And, with us here, in the sense of like, I could be a resource for like volunteer opportunities or employment opportunities. If you're ever hiring, I've got people that would be interested in this type of work.
Yeah.
Um,
So everybody that works at Love and Respect, and we prefer for our volunteers that are doing direct services to be North Carolina certified peer support specialists, kind of protects the integrity of what we're doing and our bragging rights. Because we are all people in law recovery with that certification. And so, yeah, but we put on trainings for folks to get certified as peer support specialists, so that we can increase the peer support specialists that are in Henderson County. So like sending people to those trainings, follow us on social media, honestly, and just spread the word about stuff that we're posting about. We're very active on social media.
And volunteers if they don't have the certification, is there something just a normal person could do?
Absolutely.
On social media.
Volunteer opportunities for folks that are all throughout programming. We just can't do like the one-on-one sessions,
Mhm.
group
Yes.
discussion, stuff like that.
But if you needed to pick up heavy stuff and move it around.
Yeah, we always need someone to pick up stuff.
Yeah.
Always. And let me do a plug, because I think, right, so we were talking about the hit count, the point in time count. That is directly tied to federal funding that can come into the area for help.
Right.
So getting volunteers for that can increase the amount of federal money that's flowing into Henderson County.
So it starts in January. When does that?
January 28th is
28th.
the day of pick count.
Okay.
And we would accept any and all volunteers who want to be a part of that. And we would do a safety training to make sure that folks are interacting appropriately and, are prepared to do something like that, but we give folks locations and all the forms that are needed to fill out. It's actually gotten like a lot less, the form used to be more kind of intrusive, so it felt a little strange to ask them for all that information. But it has gotten a lot less intrusive over the years, so it's a lot easier to go up and just ask and tell them what you're doing. So yeah, we would love some volunteers for that one.
What are your hours? Like for businesses to be able to call you, like if they're having an issue or need support, what time of day do you operate?
9 to 5, Monday through Friday. And then with our respite, once it is up and running, it's going to be staffed 24/7. And so if you need to consult with someone after the hours of 5, then you would be able to call one of our respite staff members who are on the clock.
What's the time frame on that? Or do you-
It's 24/7.
But
Like getting it up and
getting
running.
Yeah, we're kind of waiting on the go ahead for that. We are hoping, early 2026, hoping around in January.
Oh, wow.
So yeah.
What's your staff right now?
We
Not
have-
enough.
That's not enough. We have 8 people right now, throughout all of our programming. We, believe it or not, like 6 months ago, we're only 4 people. So yeah, and then we have the capacity to have 10 right now. We're hiring. So yeah, hoping to get some more peers in, but everybody that works at Love and Respect right now works as if they were 3 people themselves. So we really stress self-care and like boundaries in the workplace, but we all are just so passionate about them. So yeah.
Thank you for coming out and talk to us.
I can send out an email that has their contact information to everybody there, and I'll work on getting something together to send out to in our downtown business newsletter.
Yeah.
Not that it always gets read, but it gets surprised sometimes how often it actually does get read. Before we do wrap up, we have a guest I also want to introduce. This is Devin. He just started
Hi, Devin.
yesterday with the code enforcement department with Kathy.
Hey, Devin.
So I brought him here to hear kind of what's going on there. And yeah, you just started
Well, good for you guys.
day 2.
And I do have a list of community resources here. If you haven't gotten, I know some of you have, if you haven't and you want to pick one up, I've got plenty here.
Do y'all have tons of these or just?
Too many.
Okay.
I was gonna say, if you need more printed, we can paper print more.
So many, have so many things.
Yeah, because we'd want to get that to all the businesses for sure.
I would love, yeah.
Yeah,
I can maybe bring some like stacks of it to you.
Yeah.
guys.
yeah, and then I can get it.
Right here.
Yeah, just bring them to Jenny and then I'll get them.
Those for some.
Yeah.
That would be super helpful. I'll do that. I'll connect with you.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people, I didn't know till Jenny was talking about you guys, and so I think it's probably new for a lot of.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah,
But for this one, don't drop off the newsletter, just point this information out too.
yeah. Nancy will go drop it off and give people.
Normally, I just drop off the newsletter and say, hey, here's the update, but I think next time it should be, pay attention to.
Yeah, maybe we just hand that out.
Yeah.
Nancy's our good delivery,
Are you all, are any of the outreach or services things are bilingual? Are you-
Yes, yeah.
See, that what a great,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's like a priority.
Question.
No, totally, absolutely. And that's a priority throughout all of our programming is making sure that there's representation of all the populations that we're gonna serve. And so, you know, we have staff that look like everyone and that believe in, you know, different things. And there's a ton of diversity outside of, you know, ethnicity as well. We have a ton of like religious diversity. We have a ton of, we're very different people. You look at our entire staff and you're like, wow, like we would never connect outside of caring about this main mission. And I feel like we're just such unlikely, a group of people, but that's intentional and it's so that everybody feels seen when they come in and you know, have someone that they feel like they can connect with on a personal level. So we have Spanish speaking staff and volunteers. We have you know, Black and brown members of our staff, LGBTQ, we have Christian staff, we have atheist staff, we have all the different types of people almost. We've got, yeah. But yeah, so
Wonderful.
thank you guys for having us. We really appreciate your
Yes.
It's been great.
It's about 5 o'clock, so if everyone's ready, we can get a motion to adjourn and call it.
Do that too.
You go
Why
for
don't
it.
you go and I'll support you.
Oh, no.
I like you.
All right, I make the motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Oh. Oh, funny.